But this is what he came up with.
Hello everybody and welcome to Pigskin Punchlines. If you're new to the channel, this is a brand new segment that I'll be running on Pigskin Punchlines. It's called the Footy Fix. Now essentially the Footy Fix is a brand new segment that I'll be running on the channel where I'm just going to break down the weekly news from the AFL. Now this is the first episode of the Footy Fix, so if you're new here, so am I. Now the first episode of the Footy Fix will be focusing on opening round of the AFL and the news that's been happening across the past 7 days. Now we start with some sad news as the AFL world mourns the passing of a legend of our game, an iconic commentator, Dennis Cometti. As a commentator myself, I actually have a bit of inspiration from Dennis Cometti when I was growing up. He stopped commentating, I think 2016 was his final season. And if you're new to football and don't know much about Dennis Cometti, boy, I'll tell you, he was probably the most creative commentator there ever is. I think Bruce McAvaney said that he sets the benchmark for commentary standards. He was just a really creative commentator. On the spot, he would come up with some absolute beauties like, remember the name, YZE, terrific young player, bad Scrabble head. When he was talking about Adam Yze when he was playing, there's Anthony Koutoufides, more vowels than possessions today. Barlow to Bateman, the Hawks are attacking alphabetically. Now, if it doesn't take a genius to come up with that on the spot, I don't know what to think. There were also a lot of really funny commentary moments in the video game AFL Evolution, where Dennis Cometti was in the game with Matthew Richardson. It was the first AFL video game I played, and here are some of my favourites.
He's no oil painting, but look at him climbing the pack like a pop-up toaster. That decision was like taking a beer to a job interview. Not a very good idea. Well, yes, he is a bully, but he's not a mean bully. He's more a teacher, the kind of guy who'd take your lunch money and invest it for you. The balls come out of the pack like a chocolate bar from a slot machine.
Now, if you're struggling to comprehend what he just said, don't worry. I'm the exact same, but I still love it. Rest in peace, Dennis Cometti. Thank you for everything you've done across the footy world and for those you've inspired, including me. Your legacy will live on forever. Now onto a debate that gets talked about nearly every single year. It's the grand final start time. Yes, that's right. The AFL, or should I say Andrew Dillon, is weighing up a potential shift away from the traditional 2:30 p.m. grand final start. Now, I personally hope they don't change the grand final time because I like the tradition of 2:30 the last Saturday in September. But if the league do decide to move away from the 2:30 p.m. time slot, there's talks about twilight and even a night grand final coming into play, which I'm not too sure about. This is what the normal 2:30 p.m. AFL grand final time slot looks after the game is finished. And this is what it looked like after the 2021 grand final. Now, Giant star Toby Green has vowed to improve his suspension record. Now, these are the exact words from Toby Green. He says, "I won't get suspended again. I'm done. I just had to get that last one out of the way and now I'm done." And this is coming from Toby Green, a man who, in all seriousness though, I do hope Toby Green can keep that promise to us. I think we can all agree when Toby Green's not getting suspended, he is probably one of the best players in the league. As most of us footy fans would know, GWS takes the cake for social media posting. They've always got the memes, the banter, bullying the other clubs essentially. However, a club that is not even in the league yet is already taking the piss out of everyone. Especially Collingwood, it seems. Moving on, and the Adelaide Crows have completed the perfect cricket season. That's right, a bunch of Adelaide players, including former skipper Tex Walker, they all play for Prince Alfred Old Collegians Cricket Club, where they topped off a perfect season, not losing a single game. It kind of reminds me of the Crows' perfect season in the AFL finals last year. Continuing on the topic of the Crows, they've put their hand up for opening round. Now, if you're new to footy and don't know what opening round is, and thinking, why are the Crows not playing in the opening round of the season? I wouldn't blame you. Essentially, what the opening round is the round before round one, if that makes any sense to you. Because according to this guy, so the Crows chief executive Tim Silvers pushed for Adelaide to host a game at the Adelaide Oval next year to launch the season in opening round. The original reason for opening round was to initially take the attention away from the NRL while they were in Vegas, so the AFL decided to play games in New South Wales and Queensland while the NRL was away in Vegas. But I think in the first year that it did happen, they got the times wrong and Vegas was a week later. They are trying to make a big push on the game in the northern states. That's why opening rounds is also a thing. But one of the many reasons why the Crows did request for opening round next year is because Collingwood did. So the AFL added the MCG to opening round, and of course we had to have Collingwood playing. Collingwood featured in all the opening round games previously to the 2026 season, and pretty much they complained about having to travel even though they play 17 out of the 23 games in Melbourne anyway. So the AFL is like, oh, we need Collingwood in opening round. Well, don't worry, Collingwood, we'll make sure that you get opening round at the MCG so you don't have to travel. Also, for the opening round of the season, we'll make 10 out of the 18 teams play and 8 will have to wait till round 1 where the original season was supposed to start anyway. But then on the ladder, some teams would have played 2 games and some teams would have played 1 game because the team has to have a bye afterwards they play opening round in the first 6 rounds to even out the competition. Even though the competition would have been even if we didn't have opening round in the first place.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Anyway, back on the topic of Adelaide wanting opening round in 2027, I feel as if it's fair if South Australia has gather round, which they already do. Western Australia can have the State of Origin match. New South Wales and Queensland can have opening round. And Victoria can go and get... I'm only joking, Victorian fans. Please subscribe. In fact, even if you're not a Victorian fan, if you are enjoying the video, please press a like on it. And if you'd like to consider subscribing, that'd be greatly appreciated if you want to see more of the Footy Fix. And if you don't want to subscribe, that's okay, I guess. Sticking to the topic of South Australia, now moving on to their crosstown rivals, Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide revealed their new gather round Guernsey for 2026. The club have gone for a fully charged teal colour. It's kind of like an inverse to the home kit but without the white. My initial thoughts on seeing this, I didn't quite like it. I thought this isn't Port Adelaide. But on second and third inspection, it is Big Pete approved. I wouldn't mind seeing it as a clash kit or a second clash kit if they needed to, if they couldn't wear the silver or the white or whatever they use right now. But yeah, it could be something that Port Adelaide use for the future. And another team who has unveiled a new kit, although they are not in the AFL just yet, Tasmania have unveiled their inaugural VFL/VFLW Guernsey. Tasmania will be joining the VFL before they join the AFL. Before the draft hand, they will get to see essentially what sort of a squad they can build from that VFL team. And I don't know about the kit. Obviously, it looks different with a team now wearing green in the AFL. I don't mind the design. I kind of see what they're aiming for, but I think they could have put a lot more effort into it. And I'm sure they'll release a different Guernsey before they join the actual AFL competition. And I'm pretty keen to see how that looks as well, because I really like Tasmania's logo as they've come into the AFL. The branding is absolutely on point. Just the Guernsey may need a little bit of work. I do really rate the white one though. That looks sick. Now into the matches of opening round. If you guys have any recommendations or feedback, let me know and I'd greatly appreciate it. Our first stop is the SCG, where a Swans second half masterclass destroyed the Blues. The Sydney Swans piled on 12 goals in the third quarter, and luckily they did, because at half time the Matildas, Australians women's soccer team, had scored more goals than the Swans had at halftime in their game. At halftime, the Swans had 2 goals and the Matildas had 3. We saw Charlie Curnow on the Swans facing his former side, as well as Ollie Florent and Will Hayward on the Blues this time. Here's a clip of Curnow absolutely dropping Patrick Cripps. One of the best, if not, I think the best AFL photographer, Michael Wilson, put a post up on X saying, "No bloody joke, Ollie Florent and Callum Mills exchange words after Florent snubbed Mills post-match." And after a lot of confusion, Michael Wilson then had to put out, "Snubbed was incorrect, that's my bad. I spoke to Cal and Ollie and we all good." And I heard a lot of people criticising Michael Wilson, just saying, stick to the photography, don't make up these headlines. But they made a mistake, it all happens, but they put up this cute little Instagram story afterwards. Kerno managed 3 goals against his former side as the Swans cruise to the top of the AFL ladder for now. Sydney will snag another home game next week against the reigning premiers, the Brisbane Lions, at the SCG. Meanwhile, the Blues take on Richmond in the traditional round 1 matchup at the MCG. Moving up north now, and the Suns obliterated the Cats thanks to Christian Petrarca playing the best game of his damn career. A lot of people were criticising Petrarca in the preseason. He pulled up to opening round with 3 goals to his name as well as 34 disposals on his boot. The Suns looked really good. I'm not sure if Geelong were bad or the Suns were just too good for the Cats, but the Cats didn't look like the Cats. They looked like the Cats of the 2025 Grand Final. As Petrarca did make his Gold Coast debut, so did Zeki Uland. Now, I'm going to run with that name pronunciation. I probably butchered his first name and his last name, so apologies to you, Zeki, if I have. Zeki joined his brother Bodie at the Suns, playing his first game of AFL football. Little was he expecting in the Gatorade shower after the games for him to get absolutely pelted in the face by a Gatorade bottle. It looks like the Suns hit him with all the electrolytes. This time we went to NG Stadium in the west of Sydney to watch the Giants take on the Hawks in what I like to call the social media battle. While the Giants are probably crowned kings of the social media jungle, Hawthorn are trying.
And the game plan, so we've got rule changes that come in over the pre-season. You've got to adjust. There's only 6 or 7. The ball movement, the stand rule, we've seen.
Maybe if they stopped trying to be funny with doing 6-7 in 2026, they would be up there with the Giants. But at the moment, no one can really compete with the Giants on social media, let's be honest. The Giants got off to a blistering first quarter start with kicking 8 goals 3 to Hawthorn's 5 goals 2. The Hawks got close at about 3-quarter time, but the Giants held on to win by 27 points and get their revenge on the Hawks from last year's elimination final loss. Jake Stringer proved himself to be a potential threat for the 2026 season with 5 goals to his name. And for the Hawks, Jack Gonstein's proving he's still got it as well with 4 goals to his name. American movie star Tom Hanks was spotted in the crowd at the Giants game. And while he was a bit confused, I'd assume, with all the rule changes that they've implemented in the 2026 season, he seemed to have sort of understood the goal umpire signal for a goal. And at the Gabba, Brisbane were celebrating their 2 premierships from 2024 and 2025, unveiling the flags and the premiership cups for the crowd at the Gabba to witness before the game. However, it was not the Lions' night, unfortunately, as they went down in an absolute thriller. The Bulldogs managed to hold on by 5 points in what was the game of the round. Brisbane had 3 players sent to the tribunal with different incidents. As we see here, Harris Andrews just throws out the elbow, just a bit unnecessary to be honest. Considering he did concuss Arthur Jones, I would say 3 weeks is fair, maybe give him 2. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Gardner's hit on Norton here was late, yes. Did it deserve a 1 week suspension? I'm not sure. Zach Bailey, also unnecessary here, just in retaliation. The Lions did try to appeal Gardner and Andrews' suspensions. However, Andrews is suspended for 3 weeks and Gardner with 1 week. Zach Bailey was also suspended for 1 game, which Brisbane did not decide to appeal. Charlie Cameron kicked 4 goals. Bontempelli for the Dogs kicked 3. Hugh McCluggage went off with a calf injury, and Arthur Jones for the Dogs with a concussion. Now to the home of football, we fly down to Victoria for St Kilda versus Collingwood. This was the Saints' home game against Collingwood at the MCG. And during the lead up to this game, St Kilda had a lot of hype for the 2026 season. They put out this before the start of the game.
Oh, he's on the tools.
There's nothing he can't do.
What is going on?
All that drumming and all that knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Not the Saints. They did not rock up. Knock, knock. Who's there? Owen. Owen who? Owen, one of the Saints. all the hype and pre-season of all this stuff, and the St Kilda Football Club can't even put 4 quarters together. Streak performance, they go 12 points out to Collingwood. Nick Dacos is goated. 77 disposals between the Dacos brothers. Nick Dacos having 41 with 2 behinds. Josh Dacos 36. The only injury coming from the game was Rowan Marshall with a concussion. 82,528 flocked to the MCG, the largest crowd of opening round. Just a quick one now from Sench Footy. Make sure to check out Sench Footy on Instagram. He has posted that every team that won the toss in opening round won the game. It's a bit crazy when you come to think of it. This is the final ladder at the end of opening round. Here are next week's fixtures. We've got some good games coming up. The Swans versus the Lions at the SCG would be a good one. The Pies taking on the Crows at the MCG. Another great game. Geelong Freo at the Cattery could be good. GWS taking on the Dogs away from home at Marvel is another great game. Obviously, Essendon, Hawthorn, the rivalry in there as well. Carlton, Richmond. There's a lot of good games to look forward to in round 1. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Footy Fix. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said earlier in the video, if you have any suggestions or feedback, it'd be greatly appreciated. This is a project that I am working on, so it's going to start a little bit average. Hopefully we can build our way up there eventually and make it a really cool segment. And if you did enjoy the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me make more content for you guys. It does, and it just gets me subscribers. I can make the content anytime I like. Anyway, let me know what you think of the Footy Fix in the comments. Anything you would change about it, or just your thoughts and opinions in general. I'm going to wrap it up here, ladies and gentlemen. I have been Peter Georginas. Thank you for watching the Footy Fix, and I'll see you next week for the next episode.